Hi, and welcome to the Law Simplified. I'm Shraveen Bandardanayake. A question I often get asked on this very YouTube channel, on my Udemy courses, as well as my Masterclass program is how many hours of study should I devote per day in order to expect a good or a great result at that? Now, granted, I myself have outlined a proper technique in terms of timing yourself throughout your course of study on making it a fruitful endeavor when you do your studies, and you can check out that in my video known as How to Ace a Law Exam that will appear in the pop-out banner right now or in the link in the description down below. But the fact of the matter is that time is only one metric in determining if you are getting through the relevant areas of the law and of your syllabus. Now, granted, it's a very quantitative method. It's something that you can specifically outline and you can mark off your calendar to suggest that, yes, I've completed a number of hours per day, and those number of hours are broken down based on the topics that you have to cover. All of that is fine. But time itself is insufficient, much like the law itself that you're studying, to determine if you are actually achieving your objectives in understanding the law and then later applying it to your examination techniques. Now, by no means does this mean that you should not invest sufficient time in preparation, in studying and understanding the law. Law is the type of subject that the more time that you put into it, the more effort that you invest, the more you would understand, and in terms of your grades or your marks, the more the examiners will reward you with. But having said that, time itself is insufficient to determine if you have necessarily got through what is required of this particular qualification. Now, there is a particular rule that I'd like to sort of outline to you, and this can be applied irrespective of whether you are a full-time student that has pretty much the entire day laid out for you to study, or much like most of the students that actually approach me for many masterclass or fast-track programs, a working professional that might have a very finite set of hours each day and each week to devote to a law degree. So the rule, or the technique rather, that I'd like to outline for you is called the 60-40-20 rule. So what do these three numbers mean? Essentially, I've broken down your study time into 60 minutes and then how exactly you are going to use those 60 minutes in an optimum manner. Essentially, when you break down or when you outline on your study schedule or your calendar that you're going to devote 60 minutes of your time for study, we rarely go beyond identifying perhaps the topic of the particular subject or the particular area of law that you're going to go through. We just suggest, for example, I'm going to devote 1 hour study today and I'm going to go through, for instance, homicide in terms of criminal law or duty of care in terms of tort and so on. But what's most critical, on the one hand, while time is relevant, what's most critical is not essentially the fact that you have outlined 60 minutes, rather how you're going to use those 60 minutes to go through that particular topic. And that is where those two secondary numbers or the secondary components come in, 40 and 20. 40 refers to the time you are going to spend going through theory or the fundamentals or the black letter law. Essentially, 40 minutes is what you will allocate for every hour that you put in to go through the actual substantive content of that particular topic. So for example, if it is, let's say, homicide, you will learn based on your subject guide or the text material or the textbooks that you have been suggested by your university, perhaps even articles that you have accumulated or gone through by virtue of LexisNexis or Westlaw or any of the online libraries of that caliber. But those 40 minutes are only essentially valid if you put in the next 20 minutes to summarize what you've learned. This is a critical component that many students fail to realize. For instance, most of the students that I have spoken to essentially use the 60 minutes allocated in their schedule to study, and that's about it. But What's more important is to actually understand what you're studying. And that is where that third component, the 20 minutes, comes in pretty handy. So what do we use this 20 minutes for? This 20-minute block is essentially meant to provide an opportunity for you to summarize and understand what you've learned in the 40 preceding minutes. This could be utilized, for example, to create your own spider graph, something similar to the ones I've created for different topics in law, which you can access through the links in the description below. It might also mean that you would use it to just in point form, in bulleted points, to put down the essential ingredients of that particular topic. Whatever you've read, to summarize it in a manner that is understandable and referable later. Now, this is only the starting point. I've suggested 60-minute blocks because I've noticed, regardless of how busy you might get or how much time that you might have on your hand, for that matter, if you're a full-time student, 60 minutes is a block that is something retainable by anyone. No matter how much we might like to think, anything beyond 60 minutes is a bit difficult, especially when it comes to subject matter such as law, to retain and to understand and digest. You need to give your mind sufficient time to digest what you've taken in and to understand, so that later on you can apply it by virtue of writing examination questions for practice, for instance. Now, this is just one technique that I've developed based on providing countless feedback reports for students. I have noticed when I read their answer scripts how there are gaps in the law, and these gaps in the law, these lacunas, so to speak, are built or are created primarily because they have spent more time in simply rote learning or finishing a particular topic. Don't make time as simply a means to an end. Just crossing off those individual hours is insufficient. You need to make sure that you have understood substantially what you're learning. Right, so this was a very quick video to outline a very simple technique that you can incorporate into your day-to-day study schedule to make sure that you get the most out of the time that you're spending in studying. If you like this video, make sure you give a thumbs up and do subscribe to The Law Simplified. I've launched a brand new website, thelawsimplified.com. Make sure you go check it out and subscribe to that as well. But until the next time that we meet, have fun, stay safe, and obey the law.